Hi everyone, we are talking meal planning lunch edition. For those of you who are catching the replay or don't know me, I'm the chef and owner of Simply Gourmet. At Simply Gourmet, we're all about making your life easier. So whether we're cooking for our regular clients or we're coming at you with catering your events, we've got you covered. So before I go further, I'm just gonna shut this off. I always shut off things before I start. And I forgot to turn this little speaker off. So there we go. We don't want that happening again. Okay, so meal planning lunch edition. I spoke last week about meal planning dinners and I kind of skipped over lunch because quite frankly, I don't find it's a problem for me. And so I had no idea that lunches was a problem for other people, or I guess I knew, but I really didn't focus on it because lunch is not an issue for me, and I'll tell you why in a minute. However, you may have found out or heard that we moved and we were staying with friends in between times. And while that happened, I came across how a real couple, shall we call them, kind of lives. You know, someone who has a real job and goes to work at like an ungodly hour of like 7:30 in the morning and comes home at like 6. So I began to see what the life was like into a real couple. So let's just talk about me and my husband and why this isn't an issue for us. My husband's self-employed, so obviously it doesn't factor in for him. He's at home, he can eat whenever he wants. As long as we have healthy things in the fridge, then his lunches are super simple. However, there's me that is at a kitchen all day, commercial kitchen, and therefore, again, food is everywhere. So, which seems funny to a lot of people that I actually don't want to eat while I'm cooking, but I have this weird way of shutting things off when I'm cooking, and I really have no desire to eat at all, which sometimes is bad because I can then get into this bad habit of not eating while I'm at work, and I completely forget. So, however, I have spoken a little bit about the fact that we intermittent fast, right? So we don't eat or break our fast until about noon or 1 o'clock. Now, at that time, I'm well into my cooking at the kitchen, and then I get into the tasting of food, and I simply just don't want to eat, but I force myself to. So on a low carb day, I often will rely on a protein shake to get me through. Vega Performance, if those of you who want to know which one I drink, that's the only Vega brand that I like, is the Performance one. I don't know why they haven't done a good job on their other ones. It ceases to amaze me, but the Performance one is delicious. McLean always breaks his fast with a big, yummy container of egg whites, just fried up with some sriracha on it to get his protein in. Quite frankly, that makes my tummy turn, but he loves it. However, if you're like a normal couple and go to work and don't have a kitchen and pantry on hand at any given moment, then this is going to require, you guessed it, some planning. I know I come at you with planning on every bloody post, but here's the reality, guys, that it's just that top tip. You have to plan. You've got to totally embrace the planning. So here's the thing. If you've planned your dinner, then you can plan your lunch. So much simpler. Okay, so here's what I witnessed happening. I witnessed leftovers being utilized and really embraced. I know not everybody likes leftovers, but if you jazz it up and kind of switch things around a little bit, so maybe you had chicken fajitas for dinner and then you have that same chicken leftovers but with a salad instead, it can feel different. So try to think about jazzing it up, but you gotta embrace the leftovers because it makes your life so much easier. So throw an extra chicken breast on the grill, boil an extra couple of eggs, so you've got hard-boiled eggs on hand. And then really have on hand proper Tupperware and containers and make sure they're organized well, because there's nothing more frustrating than trying to find the right lid for the right container and not the right size, and this is too big and that's too small, and you get frustrated, and that's just adding to the stress. So have different size containers, little ones for dressings and lemon juice and things like that to make it really simple, different sized ones so that you have flexibility in what you're bringing. Stock up on some nice fresh vegetables, some extra avocado perhaps. Again, those hard-boiled eggs, those are all really good options for healthy fats and protein and some easy snack items. Now, here is the big key, and I guess this might be the number one tip, if you will, because it may not be obvious, is you need to do this immediately after dinner. So don't wait until you're ready to go to bed and you're like, oh, I got to start up my lunch for tomorrow. Maybe I'll do it in the morning. I just press snooze, and then you make poor decisions that day for lunch because you didn't plan ahead. So as soon as you're finished dinner, come back into the kitchen, you're loading up the dishwasher, you're gonna put away stuff anyways, pull out the Tupperware containers right then, portion it up, get it done. And then it's done. And honestly, I've sat here and watched our friends do this, and it takes maybe 3 minutes. It doesn't take long. They're so organized, you know, they split things out and it's super quick. And I'm like, why is this a problem? Why can't everybody do this? I don't know. So that's when I thought, you know what, I need to share this a little bit of information that I've witnessed, because again, I'm not in the same position and I don't realize these things. So as long as you've planned your dinner, you can plan your lunch. Just take that little extra time and embrace the leftovers. Try to twist it so that it's not exactly the same meal. And then, you know, if you have leftovers, say from Tuesday's dinner, how about you have Monday's leftovers from Monday's dinner on Wednesday and Tuesday's dinner on Thursday? And so you're not having them back to back, if that makes sense to you. And then it won't feel like you're having the same thing the very next day. Some people love leftovers. I'm not one of them though, so I get that that could be an issue. So that might help as well. So that's as simple as it gets, guys. This is not a long post, but what I do want to talk about is if you haven't checked out my Flashback Friday Mystery Meal Makeover I post, you've got to head over. I've posted it up. It's hilarious as always. So please watch the Flashback Friday Mystery Meal Makeover. Again, share this video or tag a friend for those that you know that might be interested or struggle with lunch and making those healthy decisions at lunchtime. Because really, in order to make healthy decisions, you need to plan. Sorry, you might not like it, but it has to happen. But let's talk about Sunday. Sunday is going to be a super fun post. Normally, as you might know, Sundays are my meal recipe of the week. However, we are going to talk about recipes, but in a different light. So you may think you're a bad cook or you're a terrible cook, but perhaps it's just a terrible recipe. Yeah. They exist, and more often than you might think. So we're going to talk about terrible cook versus terrible recipe, and why there are terrible recipes out there, way more than there should be, or way more than you expect, and that you can give yourself a little bit of grace and permission for not being an awful cook because you just chose the wrong recipe. So catch me here live on Sunday and we'll chat about that. Have a great weekend, guys.